Welcome back to my channel. My name is Dawn, and I live in a box truck. At least I do now. I used to live in a Chevy Express van. And then before that, I was living out of a minivan. And before that, I was living out of a car. My situation started out kind of in the space of desperation, but as I've adjusted and sort of embraced the nomad life with intention, I've just been working on improving it every step of the way. And I really see this tiny house box truck project as that next great step. I hope you enjoy this video. What is up, YouTube? So I've decided I like this angle better because it at least looks like I've done some work from this angle. Before I was trying to be coy and hide things, but for people who watch the Dawn's Break Room channel, and for people who watch my Mickey the Vanlife Kitty channel, the channel I made for my cat, you've already kind of seen some things that I haven't discussed doing yet in the build in any videos on the DawnofVanlife channel. So I was like, you know what? I'm proud of my wall back there. My only wall in the box truck that looks more like a house wall than a box truck wall. And so I'm going to go ahead and let it be on camera since it's about the prettiest thing in the box truck right now. But this particular video isn't about me doing that wall. That's going to come in some videos down the line. What it is going to be about is that window up there, which is currently covered by my really janky temporary curtain. And the reason why it's covered is because when light comes through this window, it basically looks like that. It's just basically a really overwhelming light. That light is obviously coming through the door. And so it doesn't look like a pretty window. It just looks like an orange glowing glorb coming through. And so it's blocked off at the moment just for me to be able to do this recording without it looking like some overblown light coming through the window. But this video is about the install of that window. So where I left off before was I had put 300 watts of solar on the roof and I had sold my van. Well, within 24 hours of selling my van, I closed out the parking space I've been paying for at the storage unit and then went and opened another storage unit. So it was getting kind of crazy, to be quite honest, because when I decided to sell my van, I kind of half cleaned it out. And so I got a large storage unit and took as much out of the van as I can in order to continue to live in it, but still try to sell it without having everything in there. And it was never good enough, and it really honestly didn't sell until I literally got everything out of it. But it was really difficult just not having my stuff. Like, I'm used to being in my house all the time with all of my stuff, and there was no easy way to have it fully cleaned out for sale while also having what I need to just survive from day to day. So it was really nice that I was able to get the box truck before I sold the van. Like, it worked out that I got to have them concurrently. And I'd already decided I was just going to move into the box truck in some basic way while I continued to try to sell the van. And I knew any upgrades I made to the box truck during that time were going to be very, very slow. Well, to get back on the subject of storage units, I then proceeded to, I kept that storage unit for a while, but then after the van got broken into and the glass was shattered, I decided the only way to protect it, and at that point I moved into the box truck, just not with everything I own, was to put the van in storage. But I didn't want to pay 2 storage fees, so at that point I kind of overloaded the box truck with like everything I own, and that was a mistake. Also because I was getting very large things in that I couldn't install right away. So in addition to my actual belongings, which couldn't go away, like they couldn't go to a place, like I couldn't put clothing in a dresser and dishes in the kitchen. I didn't have all that built out yet. So it was just bins. So imagine packing up your house and then just living in the boxes. So it had gotten very congested in here, but I didn't want to pay for 2 storage units. So once I got the van into storage, at a parking spot in storage, I closed the other storage unit and I just put everything I owned in the box truck with me, but it was making it very hard to get any projects done under that situation. Like, luckily, The van sold pretty quickly after I put it into storage. It wasn't even there a month, but I ended up having to pay for the full month because that's just how it works. If you're there like 3 months and you leave the contract early, they probably won't charge you the full month of the month you vacate. But if you move in and you don't even use that first month, you're going to have to end up paying for that month. And so I had to end up paying for the month, but I closed that storage unit out. I gave them a really, really good review, just out of kindness, because they were really nice about everything as much as they could be at the front desk. And then I proceeded to start to look for a storage unit to kind of get some stuff out of the box truck because it was feeling really, really crowded and claustrophobic and not comfortable to live in while I was in transition and trying to build out the box truck. So anything that wasn't absolutely necessary to like my daily living, I moved into the storage unit. Anything that was a project that I couldn't work on right away, like I ended up getting roof vents and storage boxes and stuff like that. There's no need to have that stuff underneath of me before I'm ready to install it. So in a way, the new storage unit was acting as a kind of garage where I could put a lot of project stuff out of the way. I put all of my tools in there. The red toolbox, I put that in the storage unit and sorted my tools in the red toolbox. That people were so mad at me for removing that toolbox. It's crazy. I get shocked at the stuff that people get upset at me for doing because I never expect it. It's always stuff I never expect. But anyway, moving on, I put the red toolbox that I ripped off the wall into storage. I put all of my tools in it and sorted them. I put all the stuff that I couldn't install, but it had been purchased for the box truck into storage. And it allowed me to sort of make these choices about what I need to have in the box truck and what I can leave in storage and do it a little better than I was doing in the storage unit I had before I sold the van. But it was just funny because I kept rolling over, putting things in storage, but it did make it so much more comfortable in here for me and Mickey because there was just so much stuff I just didn't need up underneath of me. Like my bed sheets. I'm not using my bed sheets right now. Until I build a bed, I don't need them. And so they're this clunky bin that's just in my way. And I got to put that in storage until I have a bed to put it on. So it's just stuff like that once it's spread out and once it's in use, it isn't a lot. But when you have to pack it up and put it away and store it, it's a lot. There's a lot of little I have a bin that's just little decorative things that I want to use that are just important to me, but there's no place for them right now. They're just things in a box and therefore another box. But the point is, the result was I was more comfortable in the box truck, living in it on a daily basis while I sort of made the plans to move forward with the build. At first, I was really excited about my new storage unit because the couple that owned the place, while I was signing all my paperwork and stuff, I just kind of opened up to them about what my project was, what I was doing, why I was doing it. And they were super cool. They got really excited about it. They were asking questions. And I felt really encouraged about being able to use the storage unit as a place I could build. My previous storage unit, not the one where I stored the van, but the one before that where I was storing my stuff while I was trying to sell the van, they had already talked to me at least once about being on site too long, and asking a lot of nosy questions about why. And at the time, I really didn't want to get into it, but at the end of the day, they were like, you can't be hanging out here all day. So that was definitely not a storage unit place where I felt comfortable that I could do any sort of build project. But this storage unit immediately felt different. The couple was really, really friendly. I think it's like a franchise thing where there's a semi bigger name company attached to it, but the people who run it are independent owners and that type of thing. But they were really, really cool and chill and into what I was doing and super encouraging about it and excited. And I still like them and they're still awesome. So when I decided to do what was probably the most scary next step ever, which was install my first window, I luckily was able to do it on site at the storage unit. So my closet with all my tools was there. And basically, I'm just going to let you guys check that out. All right, guys, so I'm finally starting the window project thanks to my friend Ashley here. I'm going to have an extra pair of hands. So what we've already done, well, actually, I didn't do anything. Ashley did. Ashley already cut us a template out of cardboard. And basically where this window is going is right up there above the cab. So now we need to get up there, try to position this, and trace it out on the vehicle, and also just see what the fit looks like. It's really hard to do it from the inside because I still have ribs on the inside, and so until those are cut off, you can't really put this flat against the inside. But I've already kind of seen where I want to put it, so hopefully this goes okay, because once it's in, there's no taking it out. So there's some parts of your build that can be a little bit rough. Chances are you're the only person who'll ever notice it. But something you can't really mess around too much on is cutting giant holes in your vehicle, rather that's for a roof vent or a window. Now, there isn't a lot of guidance on putting a window in a truck like mine, so I'd basically watched a lot of videos about people installing windows in vans. With RVs, it's usually a drop-in replacement, whereas they just get a window the same size and then they drop it into the hole that's already there, whereas when you're building out something that wasn't an RV into an RV, well, you have to cut your own hole, and that's what makes it sort of more of a challenge. And more than that, there wasn't really a template for doing it in my exact truck, so I was sort of taking what I had seen done for vans mostly and then applying it to the box truck and the weird little differences that are in the box truck. But there's a point where if you want it, you just have to commit. And so I went ahead and I traced out the circle, and then I started taping it out once I was sure I was happy with where it was. All right, I get to open my angle grinder for the first time. We'll see if I screw up with it. I had never used an angle grinder before, and what I quickly ended up doing was throwing on my hoodie to protect my arms, and what I later ended up doing was throwing on my work gloves to protect my hands, because those hot sparks were not fun. So basically, I worked at that sort of center rib, trying to get it into a place where when we cut through with the jigsaw, it would be able to get through. And while I was doing that, Ashley was outside cutting some frames for the window so that there was enough around the hole for the window to bite into. And I can't say enough good things about having Ashley around. Sometimes you get helpers who are an extra pair of hands, which is great, but they don't have a lot of independent skills where you can ask for something and they can just go do it. Whereas I was like, hey, Ashley, are you cool just cutting these frames for me? And yeah, I explained to her what I needed, and she was able to just do it independently while I was working on something else. And that is something I rarely have, and I was like super grateful for it. With the inside as well prepped as it was going to get, it was time to just commit to cutting that hole in the front of the box. And so it was really nice to have somebody on the ground to hand me tools and not have to get up and down off of that little piece of half roof. I mean, it was questionable balance anyway. So unfortunately, I don't really have a lot of good close-ups of me cutting the hole because I was just really concentrating on not screwing it up. Once the hole was pretty much cut, we were still kind of struggling with that middle piece. We kept going at little parts of the metal with the grinder, fiddling with it, seeing if we could just get it to break off and then just file it down a little bit cleaner. But that little piece of metal was being darn stubborn. So I was trying to figure out how to get this thing out, and I walk away to try to borrow some tools. And Ashley has superwoman handled this thing. Thank you. We were struggling. We were so stuck. So now there's officially a small hole up there that's basically going to be my bedroom window. So you have made my bedroom window possible.
You might want to grind it down a little bit, make it smooth.
But still, there's a full hole there. That's all we wanted. So the biggest problem was actually this stupid thing in the middle of the window, and that's why I didn't want a window any bigger than I got, because I knew I would have to deal with these, and the ones in the front are really, really long. So yeah, this is kind of awesome. So with the hole now made, we attacked the rough areas with the nail file. Also, you see that ugly little piece of metal that's sitting up? I did end up taking care of that. But the first thing I wanted to do was file down the rough edges right around the window and throw a little bit of paint on it. I didn't end up filming a lot of what happened next, but basically we put the framing in place with construction adhesive. We gave it not enough time to dry because we had to wrap it up and get everything packed up. And eventually, I did screw in the other side with Ashley sitting on the opposite side, holding the window, making sure it wasn't going to pop out, especially since, honestly, the construction adhesive hadn't dried completely. But unfortunately, in my situation, I just couldn't afford to wait, so we had to work with it partially dry, and I think it turned out okay.
See how weird that is, right off the bat?
Alright guys, so the window is installed, the first window of the box truck, and the biggest hole that I've cut into the box truck, and I was very scared, and it was not a perfect hole, but so much thanks to Ashley for helping me out. There's so much that did not get captured on camera. And it's really hard because sometimes the camera dies and you just need to keep going. But yeah, so thank you, Ashley. Hopefully you'll be around to help me with some more. And she also has tools that'll help me out, because what I've learned is battery operated tools run out of batteries. Yes, I just learned that today. Alright, I'm gonna get her home, and I need to figure out a curtain because I got a window. So I'm feeling super amazing about my first window being in. It looks a little weird from the outside. It's just this tiny little window over top the cab. But from the inside, it's like perfectly placed. It does add fresh air in here, light in here. It definitely, right now, even though my bed's gonna be here, the stove is right here. So when I cook, the window is literally like right here, and I can open it, and there's a screen. So it's made the ability to cook in here not only feel more safe, but just generally more pleasant. So Mickey loves this window, and he's in it all the time. That window is super special to me because it was the moment I really felt like I was converting the box truck. It was such a significant change for the box truck, especially from the outside looking in. Honestly, from the outside, I don't think it made that much of a difference. People are like, once you put a window in your box truck, you're giving it away. And I don't think it has. I just haven't noticed any sort of difference in having that window. In fact, the other day, I did get in trouble. I was parked overnight at a supermarket, and I was pretty confident I was going to get away with it. And in the morning, there was a sticker on my window, and I didn't realize the security guard who had placed it was standing nearby. And I just opened this door, the door between the cab and the box, and Mickey, like he likes to do in the morning, ran to sit on the dashboard. I'm going somewhere with this story. So the security guard, she was a black woman, doesn't matter, but just giving you some context. She saw the cat and started to approach the vehicle. And I didn't want her thinking like she needed to jump in here and rescue a cat. Like, that's one of my biggest fears. So what I did was I came up to the cab. The worst that was going to happen is we were going to have a conversation. And honestly, I had not noticed the notice. And the notice basically said vehicles can't be parked here overnight. You know, your license plate has been recorded, but it wasn't a ticket, which was my biggest fear. It's like it was going to be some ticket I was going to have to pay. And basically the security guard was like, I wouldn't have known anybody was in there if I hadn't seen the cat. So literally she thought this was just a utility vehicle that had tried to get away with like parking itself there overnight. She didn't think a human was in there despite the window. The window is tinted. So it's not like, unless it's nighttime and I don't have it covered and I have lights on the inside. That is a piece of a blackout curtain, by the way. It's not like people notice it or think of it as a sign of it being an RV. Like, not at all. Like, it just has not had that reaction. They honestly just think it's a box truck with a window there for some weird reason. If they even think that far. It was seeing Mickey in the cab where the windows are not tinted and you can clearly see a cat crawling around that made her turn around and come back. And we ended up actually having a pretty good conversation. She was concerned about me. I guess she thought like I was just like some desperate homeless person, for lack of a better term, who happened to own a box truck. It's weird the connections people's minds make, but she was super nice and I was super nice to her. You know, and she never would, even with the window, she never would have suspected somebody was sleeping in the box truck, living in the box truck, if she hadn't seen the cat. So Mickey broke my stealth, not the window. Thanks for joining me for another video, and if you liked it, there is a little like button right underneath the video that you can hit that like button. There's also a bell and a subscribe button. Now, allegedly, if you subscribe and hit the bell, you'll get notified about new videos, you know, if you're interested in where this project is going. So subscribe, hit the bell if you want to see where this project is going. If you're like, this girl's an idiot, I'm not watching any more of her videos, you can leave without doing those things. But if you're of the other opinion, please feel free to click those buttons. Thank you so much to Patreon and YouTube memberships for keeping me going. I'm still blown away by how many people have reached out to support me, both through those platforms and just independently, just reaching out to help me like get this far. There's so much on this box truck that would not be done without the support of my YouTube family, and I thank you guys so much. Oh yeah, and it was awesome getting to actually do a project with somebody else. Like, it's okay for me to work by myself, I'm kind of used to it, but when somebody actually comes through and shows up and is able to help, it's like the most amazing feeling ever. All right guys, see you in the next video.